But I want to ask a question more to your career. How did you get your role at Gold? How was that process like?
Yeah, that was fun. Okay. So after grad school, I wanted to interview specifically for data scientist roles, right? And it was around, I'd say, what was this? 2019. That was when I finished my graduate degree. It was like May 2019, a few months before then. I've been like continuously trying to interview with a lot of places. And actually, even much before that, I would say in 2018, like a solid year before I graduated, I was contacted by somebody at HR at Goat, and they were like, "Hey, would you be open for an opportunity?" And to them, I said at the time I would not be, but I asked if I could just like contact them when I graduate because I would be open to a full time opportunity then. And they're like, "Yeah, totally, yeah, whenever you want to come back to us." And so basically, that sat in the back burner for a while. I started interviewing with a lot of other companies, and then I graduated. And then after I graduated, I really started, trying to get into the hunt of like, okay, full time job opportunities. And then I just remembered like, oh, hey, wait, I emailed this person at Goat and they said I can contact them whenever I want to. So I was just like, I literally responded to that thread like 11 months later and I was like, hey, do you still have an opportunity? And then they were like, oh yeah, let me see what I got for you. And then immediately they put me in direct contact with like the hiring manager for the data science team at the time. And I was like, all right, he likes me on the phone. Then they basically said, okay, we'll set you up for like an on-site interview like next week. And so that next week I showed up. And then at the time though, I think I accidentally arrived way too early, like 4 hours early. It was my fault because I didn't see, like, I think I was looking at a different time zone. It was an issue on my part. And so I was like, okay, I got too much time now. So I basically went on a small little, there was like a little hike behind like the office. So I just like went on that hike and came back. And then I showed up for the interview and it was great. I mean, everybody was like super nice, super chill about it. And that's kind of how I got to GOAT.
Man, so I'm going to talk more about that, what you just spoken about, but 4 hours. I've heard of people showing up like 30 minutes early, an hour, but 4 hours
I'm
early.
very punctual. I'm very punctual.
You're taking it way to the top. I bet, did you mention that to to the people interviewing you just to show them how keen you were?
No, yeah, I think I did like bring it up at the time. Definitely like the front desk person was like the only person who was there when I showed up. And then she was like, welcome back. And I was like, thank you.
So how was that interview process like? Was it daunting? How was it like?
I'd say, well, in general, just to, again, I just want to speak more generally so it's more useful to an audience too. I'd say these data science and machine learning interviews can vary a lot. Like I have been in so many different types of interviews and interview formats that I feel like there is no specific format that, maybe like software engineer, it's like more rigorous and it's more streamlined and like you kind of know what you're expecting. With data science, not at all. At least like when I interviewed like a few years ago, because like there would be times where it's like sometimes I would have like 3 or 4 back-to-back interviews, some of them related to case studies, some of them at least one related to programming, at least one related to mathematics, like pure mathematics, at least one related to just SQL, at least one related to like just like again, probably either another case study or like programming concepts in general, just talking through an idea, like an actual product case interview. Yeah, I'd say it's like a good combination of each of those facets. And I I remember like some of them have 4 rounds. Some of them, I think like one or two of these companies had like 8 rounds. And I was just like, yeah, on the same day. And I was there from like the morning till the evening. And I was like, by the end of it, like my throat is so hoarse. But again, I feel like this is again, a lot of interviews, probably in other fields too, are like this too. But specifically for data science, I just found it very interesting that even though there were all of these kind of formats, they all kind of touched on like, the very core fields I just mentioned. Like you have programming, you have mathematics, you have some of it is like actual like probability theory. Some of it is also like statistical interview because you need that for like data analysis. And some of it is there is like a SQL based interview because you use a lot of SQL and another like Python based interview or in general, like an algorithms interview, but I chalk it up to like being a Python interview. But yeah, you can kind of chalk it up to being like these core facets that they try to test out just in multiple different varying rounds.
And the thing is, all those core facets that you've mentioned are essentially roles in themselves. They're literally roles where they focus on either just SQL or just Python, or maybe doing web stuff with a bit of product focused. But data scientists, machine learning people, we get the wrong end of the stick because, again, we've spoken about this. The term is not definitive. It just data science is an umbrella term. And that trickles down into the interview process where you're getting, maybe you feel like you're getting an interview process, which will be similar to a software engineering interview, where you have to learn algorithms or whatnot, or you might be getting an interview process that's similar to one that is a web developer type of interview or researchers. Or so that broad definition definitely affects the interview process, which also affects how you prepare for interviews. Because, like you said, you have different interviews back to back, and you're an exceptional individual because you're able to grasp so many topics. But for myself, I was sweating. I was suffering because I had to do NLP one day, then I had to do computer vision the next, then do some numerical analysis, then
Yeah.
geospatial analysis. And I'm like, damn, am I gonna get a job?
Lo and behold, did you get the job?
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm not sure that they might test you on all those things, but I mean, we're all humans at the end of the day. We can't be perfect at everything. And so I'm hoping, at least depending on the institution, they'll focus on some areas more than others. It depends on the kind of company they are, because, like, if you've interviewed too, right, in multiple locations, like some companies are very, very, like, they need a programmer. They need somebody who knows how to code, but then they should be able to kind of do, like, the computer vision work or the machine learning work, right? But then you have the opposite end of the spectrum where it's like, 95% of your job is going to be in, like, statistical modeling. So you need to know that. And then, yeah, even if you're like, okay, you know how to write a for loop, you know how to create like a basic class in Python. Okay, you're good.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Yeah. So it really depends. Like, they'll probably rigorously test you on both just to understand your limits. But I'm sure, like, for many institutions, they would have like, all right, some of these are weighted more than others.